This channel is made possible through the support of generous listeners just like you. If you would like to be a part of helping us bring our message of hope, peace, love, and spiritual truth to the world, please consider heading to experienceofthesoul.com/support, where you can join us as an ongoing patron or simply make a one-time gift. Blessings on the journey, dear friend.
Natural Awakenings Magazine and Zen Living Realty present The Authentic Spiritual Journey, a weekly show featuring real and practical spiritual conversations from diverse perspectives here on the Experience of the Soul podcast channel. Today, episode 87, The Magnetic Voice with Monique McDonald. And now your host, Reverend Cynthia Alice Anderson.
Hello and welcome to the Authentic Spiritual Journey. My name is Cynthia Alice Anderson. I am the host, and I'm here in 818 Studios with my producer.
Hello, everybody. This is Dave Croft. Thank you so much for joining us for another episode of the Authentic Spiritual Journey here on the Experience of the Soul podcast channel. Hard to believe that we are wrapping up February.
I know.
Coming into springtime, so ready for spring.
I know. And today is a really special day because we have not only a friend and colleague, but really a very special spiritual soul, Monique McDonald, also known as the Magnetic Voice.
The Magnetic Voice, singing Carnegie Hall, Lincoln Center, all of this. Oh my gosh. A native New Yorker and here in studio. I'm a little nervous. This is somebody who's sung at Carnegie Hall, and they're in 818 Studios. That's a far cry from Carnegie Hall. But thank you so much for joining us today.
Hi, I'm so happy to be here.
And we're happy to have you, Monique. And anyone who knows me well knows that you are a special person in my life. And I even knew some of your family as well. And so it's really important for me to have people on the show that are really doing the deeper spiritual work, especially those that are successful in life, those that are supporting others. And I think so many of us don't realize when we see someone on a stage or performing in some of the incredible venues you've performed that there's something that's happening behind the scenes. There's a real life. There's a journey going on. There's ups and downs. There's trials and tribulations. There's joys and sorrows. And, that comes through definitely in the performance. But I think sometimes when we see people up front, we don't realize there's a really tremendous thing happening behind the scenes.
That's right. And one of the things that is the most exciting about what I get to do is I live my dream.
Yes. Yes.
I've been able to travel the world and open my heart and my throat and sing on some of the best stages in the world and share my journey with others.
Yes. Well, and I do want you to talk a little bit about that just so our listeners get to know you a little bit. And we will be encouraging people to go to your website to learn more about who you are and your work. And people will see as they go on there to MoniqueMcDonald.com that your experience is vast. And I remember recently you had traveled to Russia, it seems like, recently, and we're doing a lot of work there. So you don't just perform, you don't just teach, you are doing many, many things and have a really vibrant career. So I definitely want you to talk a little bit about that so people can get more of an idea of who you are.
That would be great. I'm happy to.
Right. So tell us where you were. What's your latest travel?
My latest travel was Israel.
Oh, yes. I forgot that. Mm-hmm.
Yes. I was invited to come and work with an artist there who makes beautiful art. And I was her guest, and we did private parties, which is some of my favorite things to do. So people have a dinner party and I'm dessert.
That makes all the sense in the world to me. Well, and that's a real intimate setting for people to experience you, and that with the sheer power of your voice, I can imagine that for people, that's really an amazing experience.
Yeah, I think so. One of the amazing things that happened to me there was I worked really, really hard to sing a song in Hebrew.
Oh, yes.
And I was so worried about, were they going to be able to understand me? It's not my native tongue. I had to learn it all phonetically and
Right.
put my heart and soul into it. And it was about peace and about the beauty of the vibration of harmony when all the souls that are in that very troubled part of the world
Yes.
come together in peace. And it was extraordinary experience for me because I really got to tune into the vibration of the ancient time and all of the people that were there. And I just tried to vibrate with that. And then I asked, could you understand me? And the woman I spoke to, because it was a Russian home that I had been invited into, well, I don't really speak Hebrew, but your Russian was great. So
Oh, don't you love it? Well, but what we know is, because you were experiencing the energy, that was still, I want to use the word forecasted into the room because of how powerful it is when we are having this experience, right?
That's right.
Right. And we are all so complex. And I think that area of the world is so complex. And I think we all tend to view places like Israel, places like Russia, as real kind of two-dimensional, because we just know what we've been taught, because a few of us have been able to travel there. So I think you really do serve in many ways as a goodwill emissary, as you travel the world with singing and including your spiritual journey, for how open you are and how you can connect. And I think music is a extremely powerful connector of people.
I absolutely agree. In many ways, it's the great bridge between humanity and the divine.
Yes. Yes.
And it's a way that we can connect without what our passport says.
Yes. Yes. Well, years ago, I was in Honduras, and I was on a diving trip, and it just so happened me and another person were the only two there, and so I got to know all the cooks and everything. I was in the kitchen just hanging out instead of like being served everything. And I saw a guitar sitting there, and I go, I wonder what that is. So I went over and picked it up. Of course, nobody spoke any English, but everybody knew every word to America. Bye, bye, Miss American. So even though it's not in the way you are, it was amazing how as soon as I picked up a guitar, we were instant friends.
That's right.
And we were giving each other gifts, at a parting. So I think when I left, I did leave. We left as friends, not as they were serving me, but we definitely were friends. And music was the connector.
Yeah, there's Shannon and I used to teach in Germany in the summers, and we've talked about that here on the show. And the last summer we went, Shannon said, "You know what? I'm going to lead a worship song in German." And she did, and the people really responded. Was her German perfect? No, you're right. Was the pronunciation kind of whack a little, but they really opened up. And and my last year there, I prayed in German.
Yes.
And so simple. The prayer was so simple. Like basically, let's have a good day, and I hope everybody, is blessed. And when we were done, said, Amen. And there was like somebody had a tear in their eye. Just to hear someone praying in their language was a real connection point for them. And so that was a really powerful moment. So I get it. Music and being able to be in another culture, in another country, and singing, praying in their language shows an effort, especially by Americans, that sometimes we don't get a lot of credit for.
We tend to be super self-centered.
Right.
That might be why.
Yeah, but it was really, really powerful.
Well, and what's great, too, about our show is that we are connecting with people all over the world. I don't know, we did top 50,000 downloads, I think, this last month, and so, or rather in 2019. Yeah. So anyway, Monique, it's great to have you here. And I also want to at least mention, and you even mentioned this on your site, your mom, because your mother was such an amazing teacher, not only to me of singing and operatic singing, but just about life lessons. I got to meet and visit with your mom before the end of her life, and I really began to understand, so much of who you are is a reflection of her, and yet you've expanded past also your mom and her teaching. But I really want to acknowledge her place, in your life and in your work, because she wasn't just your mom; she was your right.
That's right. That's right. And thank you for saying that, because your mommy is your home, right?
I know.
I always talk about how I'm an only child and we were so close. And for most of my life, nothing that I achieved or did meant anything until I could tell her about it and see her reaction in her eyes. And then I felt really excited that whatever I had done, I could talk to her about it and she would be proud of me. And that was something really important. But my mother was very, very moved to help people understand the power of the human voice and how it really is a reflection of our soul. And that once we find and are able to truly and authentically express ourselves through our voice, we become more powerful, more deeply connected, more rooted in life itself. And that's what she passed on to me, as well as a great technique. I'm trained to sing in theaters that seat 1,000 or more with no microphone.
Right.
With an orchestra of 100 pieces, and to be able to top that. And so I am realizing more and more how this training is allowing me to express in a way that most people don't realize the importance of taking care of your voice. We really don't realize how important our voices are until it gets sick.
Oh, very true. Very true. Well, many people I've sent you have been in situations like that, and I myself was heading that direction when I started working with you. And I want to say a word about that, because even as a child, I was dealing with issues with my voice. And of course, there's also a spiritual aspect to that as well. And so in our work together, what I love about our work together is that there's always the spiritual component, because we know that our body and our soul are not separate.
That's right.
That everything that's happening in our body, is a reflection of the soul and or emotional, which is virtually the same, but soul and or emotional experience. And so, if I'm really pushing in my throat, if I'm not supporting my breath,
That's right.
then chances are I'm not supporting myself. Chances are I'm not speaking my truth. Chances are I am living out of a really old way of doing and being if I'm in this force mode.
Right.
And that's such a powerful teaching. And I've had many teachers over the years. I've sung my whole life, and I've never had this such an expanded dimension of the work. I don't know if it's because that's how you are, that's how I am, or it's how we both are. But yeah, I know you must do this with other people as well.
I absolutely do. Most people don't realize that our voice is the reflection of our experience.
Yes.
So if you've lived through trauma, it registers and is stored in the body and the voice. And for example, I'm working with a client right now who was physically abused by his parent anytime he voiced his opinion. He was slapped across the face.
Right.
And so now his voice is literally strangling him anytime he speaks his truth. And he's a singer.
Wow.
So it's I never dreamed that I would be working with this kind of trauma, really. But it's so important to him to express himself through his voice and through his music. He went to a lot of voice teachers, and they were helping,
like the mechanics.
But because the trauma wasn't being addressed, they didn't help him. So when he came to my studio, we started talking, and I was able to tell him, your voice, there's nothing wrong with your voice. It's your breath and the way that you breathe. And if you think about it, the first thing we do when we're frightened or we're about to be slapped is
Yeah.
back away from it, hold our breath. And as soon as the breath starts to flow again, all of these traumas come up again for
Yes.
healing.
Oh, yes. Yes. Don't get me started. Yes, they do. And I think the ability for you to hold, space with people. And I love that you're also a prayer chaplain,
That's
in the
right.
work you do at your church. You're also very much in service to people's, spiritual life by praying with people one-on-one and, offering spiritual support. So friends, if you're listening or as you're listening, I really want to encourage you to be thinking right now in this moment, are you even breathing?
That's right.
What I know from years of working with people is most, if not all of us, grew up in environments where we had to walk on eggshells. We weren't sure when the other shoe was going to drop, and in an environment such as this, which is an environment where we definitely can't be living fully in our truth. What happens is we constrict, we contract our breath in, and very typically we're not even breathing at all.
That's right.
And so just notice now as you're listening, are you even breathing? And I bet when Monique started talking about the breath, my guess is you started going, oh, wait.
Am I breathing?
Am I breathing? But if you haven't yet, I'm going, yes, hello, hello. Try that because the breath is the way through.
That's right. And for since the beginning of time, the breath was the pathway to the divine.
That's right.
Watching the breath, meditating through the breath. And we aren't alive if we're not breathing.
That's right.
It's just that basic.
It's that simple. Yes, yes. And I know you couldn't possibly teach it really on the podcast, which is one of the reasons I wanted to have you on. Anyone who's really, wanting healing, you don't have to be a singer to study with you.
That's right.
And I was just talking to someone the other day who said, well, I can't sing. I said, I am going to introduce you to somebody because it's not even about singing.
No, it's not.
Yeah.
It's about expression.
Yes.
Vocal communication, which I don't care who you are, you're talking to somebody, either on the phone or in your life. You are expressing and representing yourself through your voice. And so your vocal stature, the way that you carry yourself through your voice into the world is your trademark, is your brand, is who we know you as. And so singing is, well, as we say, singing is praying twice.
Yes,
right?
yes.
But speaking your truth and allowing your voice to be supported by your life force, which is your breath, brings an authority, an authentic being, an authentic presence into your instrument, your vocal instrument. And whether you're using it for singing or speaking, it's an important place to explore your identity, I think.
Yes, and I am such a believer in so many therapeutic models. I love talk therapy. I love different modalities, but this particular mode of healing through the voice is really very powerful. So, friends, I hope you're hearing the importance I place on this. And I've had Monique, in church. I've brought her as a soloist, as a clinician, and for this very reason, because the more I connect with my true, authentic voice, what I've noticed is that my life is lighting up. I'm noticing that the people that I want to meet, I'm meeting. I'm noticing that I'm able to stay connected to spirit in a powerful way, and that the connection is not in my mind. It's not just in my soul. It's spirit, soul, body, all the way through, and connects me to the earth itself.
That's right. That's absolutely right. And I talk a lot about aligning the inner and the outer voices.
Yes.
Right?
Yes.
Because once we align our voice to the source of all there is, to the one that beats our heart and breathes us, all of a sudden magical things start happening because you are vibrating in a different way when you start accessing your voice. And then you're sending that vibration out into the world in a different way.
Yes. And so, yes, right. The way I often speak about it is we're creating a new resonance, in our lives. And I don't know if you remember this, but one day I was in the shopping line at Publix, and I was really in a hurry, and no one else was, obviously, including and especially the one checking out the groceries. And I mean, it was just this frenetic energy. I thought, we're about to hit flashpoint here. The energy was just weird. And I thought, okay, breathe. And I got this overwhelming, like really huge breath that we do, this big connection breath. And all of a sudden I was like, wow, everything is so good. And so I texted you from the line and said,
"That's right.
Thank you, God, for teaching me to breathe. That's my new secret weapon." And I'm like, okay, weapon's not the right word, but it gets me through. And in like a real basic, you can't get more basic to life way of just like, it just brought me right in the moment and into my body and into myself and into what really mattered. And it was just an incredible connection.
Absolutely. Breathing is the most important and underestimated tool that we have as human beings.
Yes.
And I always think of it as, once you start to really just watch your breath and notice where you are, like right now, I'm breathing a little high because I'm on a podcast and I don't know what's going to happen. And so then I have to remind myself, oh, yes.
All is well. You're with friends.
That's right. And wherever I am, I'm safe if I'm breathing.
Yes. It's unbelievable the message not breathing sends to your body. It's like high alert. I'm in anxiety breathing. I'm prepared for a saber-toothed tiger.
That's right.
And that is the kind of breathing we normally do. But when we're in this kind of breath, this deep, like a full body connecting breath that goes down into the earth, we go, I got this. It's like everything, your chest, your shoulder, everything just relaxes. So this is so powerful. So we are gonna take a quick break. We will be right back with Monique McDonald, the magnetic voice. So join us after this.
We'll return to the program in just a few moments, but first, do you know your voice is your most powerful and underestimated tool? Do you speak with authority and charisma that draws clients to you with ease? Is your inner voice sabotaging your voice of power? How is your voice supporting your success? Discover your magnetic voice. Monique McDonald is now offering private online sessions at an incredible introductory rate of just $25 for a 25-minute private session. For more information, head over to themagneticvoice.com. We also want to give a special word of thanks to our podcast partner, Natural Awakenings Magazine of Central Florida, Greater Orlando. Each month, Natural Awakenings magazines across the country take a practical look at the latest natural approaches to nutrition, fitness, creative expression, personal growth, and sustainable living. Natural Awakenings magazine is a free publication and is available in selected stores, health and education centers, healing centers, public libraries, and wherever free publications are located. You could learn more, including advertising opportunities for your business, by calling 407-628-0705. We'd also like to extend our special thanks to Zen Living Realty. Zen Living Realty's mission is to mindfully serve, connect, and positively impact their customers, partners, and community through their Zen approach to real estate. Their vision is to be the most trusted real estate brokerage in the Central Florida area. You can reach Zen Living Realty at zenlivingrealty.com or call 407-800-2717. And now we return you to this week's episode of The Authentic Spiritual Journey with your host, Reverend Cynthia Alice Anderson.
When all the world is a hopeless jumble and the raindrops tumble all around, heaven opens Heaven's a magic lane. When all the clouds darken up the skyway, there's a rainbow highway to be found, leading from your window pane to a place beyond the sun, just a step beyond the rain. Somewhere over the rainbow, way up high, there's a land that I heard of once in a lullaby. Somewhere over the rainbow, skies are blue, and the dreams that you dare to dream really do come true. Someday I'll wish upon a star and wake up where the clouds are far behind me, where troubles melt like lemon drops away above the chimney tops. That's where you'll find me. Over the rainbow, bluebirds fly. Birds fly over the rainbow. Why then, oh, why can't I? If happy little bluebirds fly beyond the rainbow, why, oh, why can't I?
And welcome back. We're so glad you're with us today. And Monique, thank you so much for sharing your gift of voice. Monique McDonald, the magnetic voice. And I love being able to say that, you have such an amazing career. You've known so many amazing people. And, but honestly, when we're talking, I just think of you as my friend and my colleague and my teacher. So sometimes I have to remind myself, Monique's a player.
I have to tell you, I do too.
Yeah.
Like, we were just looking at my bio and I was like, I did that? Yeah.
Oh, that looks pretty good. The Kennedy Center.
You should actually invite her on your show.
Yeah. And she's here, as a matter of fact. So anyway, that's so cool because we are all people on the journey. We've had some amazing guests this year and ending last year too with Samba Shoot. So what I know is we're all in this journey together. We very often like to explore our humanity and our spirituality. And before we move deeper into the spiritual, I do want to say one other thing about the work you're doing in New York, because even though I live here and you live in New York, we're able to, when you're here, we work in person and we work online. But you also, I really want to make the point of, you don't only work with vocalists, you work with actors, you work with instrumentalists.
That's right.
I think it's so important for people to really understand what we're really talking about is not singing.
No.
It's about the breath, and it's about really ultimately the soul, and the breath seems to be the vehicle. So help me find words around that, because I just know from my experience with you.
Sure. Well, it's actually becoming quite trendy now. Champions are learning how to speak in the stature that they are using in their mastery as athletes.
Yes.
A lot of athletes are becoming anchor people who are right.
Right,
So,
right.
So this is more about embodying the mastery that you bring to whatever is your field, so that you can express it through your voice with the same mastery that you do with whatever it's your thing to do.
Wow. Yes. Beautifully said. Beautifully said. And again, I want to pause here and say, when we see an athlete doing something fabulous, we think all of life is that way for them. And
That's
the fact
right.
is, they might be able to be incredible on the basketball court or incredible running, and they get home and they don't know how to do a load of laundry. They don't know how to organize their way out of a bag, and they don't know how to do relationship because all they've done is focus on that thing. And I think that's important to say. I mean, this happens to me all the time that people think my life is perfect, and I'm, boy, that's not the case. I work real hard at it, but there's a lot of things in life that I need help. I need coaching. I need support. And I'm making fun of the little things because recently I had to go to the store. Had to go into like an Office Depot, and I walked in there, and in 5 minutes I was like, I am in complete overwhelm. I can take somebody in crisis. I don't care. They can be shot. They can be they can be bleeding, no problem. They can experience the worst trauma you've ever heard, and I can deal with that. But you make me go into Office Depot and find what I need, I am suddenly triggered beyond belief. So I'm saying this because we all have our things we deal with. We all have our trigger points, and we all need support. And so, yeah, there's ways where in the work you do, you're helping us access this truest voice.
The truest voice.
Yeah.
And we often look for support outside of ourselves. And I think that's important. But we forget this endless bounty that is within us. And the breath helps us access it. And speaking on the breath and feeling the support. For example, if I'm talking like this, I'm talking on a body that's empty, and
boy, the richness changes completely.
My body's fully empty of air, and then I inhale, and then all of a sudden, I'm fully supported, not only by the entire universe that's within me, but by my life force.
Yes.
And that's why I believe this work is important to anyone who uses their human voice for anything, whether it's talking to your husband or your friend or. I mean, think about it. You can tell your significant other. You can tell exactly how they're feeling when they say hello.
Right. Or you say, "Is everything okay?" And they go, "Mm-hmm." And you're like, "Okay." Yeah.
It's very telling, and it's something that's extremely important. And that support, right? That life force supporting us from within enables us to reach out and say, I need help.
Yes. And the thing I love about this work, the work I do with you, and now it's obviously continuing on my own when I'm not with you, is the radical honesty and authenticity that it really requires if you're going to do this, because you can't really hide how you're breathing or how you're feeling when you're in this process. It's like, okay, here we are, and I'll call you and say, gosh, I really need a tune up. I'm forcing, I'm and in 10 or 15 minutes, boy, the whole world looks different because, I've connected with that. So yeah, really,
that's right.
really.
And it's been so fun watching how you're blooming.
Oh, thank you.
Because, and that's the fun thing about our work is that, I mean, the actual vocal work didn't take all that long. It took a few years, right? But then as you're growing in your experience and in reaching more people with your voice.
Yes.
We're expanding your capacities within you to embody that. And I'm so grateful to be a part of your journey.
Oh, thank you. Yes, that's been very important for me to note. And I'm even, I was just saying to a friend last night that working with you again this week was interesting because I was noticing the places that I'm tending to force, and it's like, okay, something needs to shift here then because I'm feeling unsupported. And again, it's not about an outer thing, it's an inner thing. And so what in me is feeling unsupported? And sometimes just knowing that and sensing that and then adjusting again, then I'm clear about what's mine to do, when and how to do it because I'm coming from center. And the breath is what gets me there every time. Every time.
And there is this aspect to really sitting as though you are someone who's important.
Yes.
And then going within and listening. Because as soon as you start to focus on your breath, all of a sudden you're starting to listen to your insides.
Yes. Yes.
And then you're always guided spiritually, divinely guided.
Yes. Yes.
And supported. Yeah.
Sorry. Yes. We talk so much about that. And I even remember, I didn't know I was going to share this, but I remember a session we had where I was trying to say, when we do affirmation work, I was trying to say, I am loved, supported, and blessed, which I have no problem saying today.
Yay!
But what I was doing, I was practically swallowing the word supported.
That's right.
I could not get air. I could not get breath. I couldn't even force it.
That's right.
And so it wasn't till I was like it was like, okay, what's this doing? What's this doing? Okay, I have to unpack whatever is happening physically with this word. And it's so interesting because now in my daily affirmations, I use that word support so often. And just the other day, I was listening to one, and I thought, I remember when I could not say that word.
That's right.
And so So I'm just hopefully, friends, you're hearing this. There's kind of this like ripple effect of the far-reaching implications, of this work that I've done with Monique and continue to do. And Monique, I really want to hear a little bit about your journey because, when we share, obviously we're sharing our spiritual walk as well. And I'm so glad you're supported by my ministry and by our friendship and by the show. But I want to hear, because, we're always about having authentic spiritual conversations. So we want to know what are your next steps and how can we support that? So what are some of your intentions? Because we're in, brand new year. So I know you're working them.
Yes. Well, I made a decision or an intention for 2020 that I wanted to become more visible so that people who needed this work would be able to find me. I've sort of been the best kept secret in New York City. And that my new client that I just started working with, when he actually said, I've gone to every single voice teacher in town and no one's been able to help me. It sort of helped me to understand how important this work is. So my intention for this year is to become more visible so more people can have access to what it is that I'm doing, which is literally helping people empower themselves.
Yes.
For whatever is their purpose in life. And so that's one of the things I'm doing. The other thing I did, which, I'm a singer, and an artist by nature. So business is not really my strong point. That's not true for a lot of artists. A lot of artists have this great business marketing sense. Nope, not me.
Well, back to what we were talking about.
Exactly.
Right? Hey, man, you can put you on a stage. Ain't nothing better. But you get you with a checkbook. You're like, Lord of mercy, somebody help me.
That's right. And that's exactly what I did. I finally allowed myself to ask for help in this area. And I just hired a business coach.
Very good.
The coaches need coaches too.
Oh, amen.
Physician, heal thyself.
That's right.
Right.
That's
Well,
right.
we've talked a lot about that on the show. And, that's my series that's starting. Is it today? Is it today the series is starting? I can't remember when this show. No.
February 24th.
Never mind. The
Today's
series
February
ends.
24th.
Okay, the series ends today. But my Dream Big, Live Big series, it's all about that, helping people accomplish their dreams. And it's so interesting because I have a whole team that supports me. I mean, we call them I call them Team RCA. That I know if I were trying to do this work all myself, there is no way I would have gone this far this quickly. The mastery of Dave in the studio, it doesn't get better.
That's right.
Every time I'm in here, he's done something else to make it better, and it was great last time.
Right.
Shannon doing my web work, Shannon Croft. I mean, same thing. I was like, wow, is that me? That looks incredible. That looks like a rock star.
That's right.
And then you helping me behind the scenes, again, connect with my voice. So I see you being a lot more visible this year, and I don't want you to be the best kept secret in New York, because so many people do need your support to really move into what's theirs to do. And I think that's a big plus about the work you do. It doesn't matter what it is. It helps you be more of your true, authentic self.
Yes, I hope so. Because I know that for me in my journey, I had a lot of stage fright and completely audition phobic when I started.
Oh, I would never have imagined that.
I know. So I had to learn how to help myself in these ways where, the fear doesn't ever go away, or the feeling of I'm not good enough. It doesn't go away. What happens is we get to be able to turn down that voice that's telling you that. You're in danger, 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 which is a very biological thing. Our bodies and our voice, our breath, everything feels the danger, especially if you're about to stand up in front of a bunch of people and
in front of 1,000 people,
and say or sing something, right? So I had to figure that out for myself. So now it's important for me to help people, give them shortcuts to do that for themselves.
Right. And I mean, as I'm thinking about it, if you're in the business world, you have that right before going into a meeting.
That's right.
You have that before going into a therapist's office. You have that before getting a diagnosis, so these tools that you're teaching are for life itself. Again, not just for singing. I'm making this point over and over and over so that you see the benefits. It's like another healing modality. That's how I want people to think about it. Well, what do you think this year's holding for you? Are you going to be working with more actors, more musicians? How are you going to be more visible, you think?
I'm right now working with a bunch of actors in New York City, working on this very issue about standing in front of a camera, standing in front of people who are judging you in the audition process, and how to talk to yourself lovingly so that you can do what it is that you do and become available. I'm also working more with public speakers and ministers and people who use their voice in the art of persuasion, coaches, teachers, trainers, because I want to educate people to remember how important their voice is. I want to save the world one voice at a time.
That's
right.
Well, in your mom's teaching and in her studio, again, you grew up with her not just as a teacher and a coach and a mentor, but as your mom. What would you say was the number one thing, or top three, that you are carrying forward in her message as well? Because I really believe you've expanded on her teaching, but I know her impact was huge.
It was huge. I think one of the biggest gifts that my mother, Betty McDonald, gave to the world was teaching people how to accept themselves no matter what.
Yes.
And creating a sacred space to explore the trauma, the experiences that have created who we are, so that we can fully express authentically and not be afraid to let the uglies show.
Yeah.
I think we're all so terrified that people are going to see who we really are and our faults, our warts, whatever that is. And so when you're exploring your voice and getting ready to stand up in front of a bunch of people, that's very important to be able to do so that you can fully be yourself in the presence of all of that.
Yes.
She used to call it Radio Hanoi. It's like, I know we're in a podcast, but
that's fine.
And we don't do static anymore, but it used to be that when you're trying to tune into the station, we're like,
oh yeah, right.
And that's what happens in our mind, and how to align with that, and also the power of the human voice. That was something very important to her, that people realize how important and how powerful the human voice is, and that our message be sent out into the world with love.
Well, and I was fortunate to know your mom and her huge energy, and I'll be honest, trying to not be yourself is exhausting. So, I've kind of given that one up. When you're as busy as I am and as you are going out and teaching and speaking, it's like, yep, I've got foibles. Get in line. We all do. But I know some spiritual truth, and I'm going to give you that.
Yes.
And so we don't try to pretend that things aren't there. We acknowledge them. We see them for what they are, and then we say, yeah, we love ourselves even in the midst of that. So I appreciate so much you being on the show, and friends, we thank you for joining us from all over the world. I really hope you'll continue the work of your soul, and thank you again for tuning in, for supporting our show. So many of you are checking in and supporting us financially, and we appreciate that.
Yeah, and absolutely. We'll have links to Monique's website on our show notes. Be sure to click on the show for today, show 87 for February 24th.
Monique McDonald, the magnetic voice. All right. Thank you for joining us, dear friends. Many blessings.
Thank you.
We hope you've enjoyed this episode of The Authentic Spiritual Journey presented by Natural Awakenings Magazine and Zen Living Realty. The Experience of the Soul podcast channel is also made possible through the continued support of our angel patrons, Dove Borland, Peter Gibson, Paul Caswell, Arlene Meyer, Kathy and Terry, Marcia Mott, Nora Miles, Diana Cox, Leslie Williams, Susanna Garcia, Shayla Mount, Dorothy Moore, and Aggie Payton. The Authentic Spiritual Journey is copyright 2020 Cynthia Alice Anderson, all rights reserved. Our theme music is composed by Dave Croft and used with permission from RR Hot Publishing. The Experience of the Soul podcast channel is a production of 818 Studios.